one of the things from our last conversation that I wanted to pick up on, I'm going to play something as well, more to get your comment on, because we did a bit last night in BHN on the Tucker Carlson releasing the QAnon Shaman footage. And I don't know if you've been following that or not at all, or seen that at all, because one of the things we talked about, and I've written this down, something that you said, is the way in which media are trying to create the narrative rather than report the narrative. And that was one of the criticisms. I want to show this to you, and I'll show this to people as well, because we did do a big bit on this last night, but something has come to my attention more about this situation. Now, for those who don't know, this is the QAnon Shaman. If you're watching the video footage of this, he's the guy that was kind of the face of the insurrection. Now, Tucker Carlson got access to a whole bunch of footage, of 40,000 hours of footage of the insurrection, what was in the Capitol building, and he then spun a narrative that it wasn't violent because he spent 2 minutes of the footage showing this guy, the QAnon Shaman, walking around peacefully. So that was his narrative to now say that we've been lied to about the whole thing. Now, this is a situation where people who can see the footage, you will see, and I missed this last night, so we'll include this today, but also to show people about the narrative idea that you talked about last time with me. This is the shaman, and they're coming up to try these doors. Now, note, if you're watching the video, the doors are blurred out. Why are they blurred out? Well, I have a suspicion about that, and I'll tell you soon. I'll just play about 10 seconds of this and listen to what Tucker Carlson says.
Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him.
Right. That's all I need to play for you. Because what Tucker Carlson said very clearly is, here's Chansley in the Senate chamber. Listen to it again. Listen to what he says.
Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber.
Okay, I'll pause it there for those who are watching. He says, here's Chansley in the Senate chamber. We have eyes. That's not the Senate chamber. That's an exit door, if anything else. And for people who are clear, this is the Senate chamber, if people are watching. It's where the senators sit to make decisions. Here are photos of the Senate chamber. Tucker Carlson just literally said, here's Chansley in the Senate chamber, whilst they're showing them in the corridors of the Capitol building. Now, I would actually submit that this door here, which Fox News has blurred out, why have they blurred it out? I would submit that it's probably an exit door. Here's another photo looking through a metal detector for people who are watching, of Marjorie Taylor Greene. But behind her, you can see those wooden doors with the glass panels in them. I would submit to you that this is actually a door to exit the building. I would submit to you that what the police officers are trying to do is get this guy out of the building. They've gone to an exit door and it's been locked, so they've turned back. However, the narrative that he is making, rather than reporting the facts, I would submit we'll play it again.
Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber.
He's not.
Capitol police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him.
Okay, it's not an entrance to the Senate chamber. I would submit that it's an exit door and they're trying to walk him out. But I thought that was a really interesting example of what we talked about last time, of the media creating a narrative rather than reporting it. Now, I don't actually know if that's 100% an exit door, but he's definitely not in the Senate chamber, which is what Tucker Carlson said. And I guess I wanted to pick up on that with you as well. You're welcome to comment on what I've just shown, but I guess what I've shown is an example of what we talked about last time, and I'd love to talk to you about the media creating the narrative rather than reporting it.
Oh, well, Tucker Carlson is an extreme example. I mean, he just invents stuff, and I think I agree with you that he's pushing a narrative there. And I remember on that day, I just happened to get online, wasn't realizing what was going on, and started watching what was happening in the Congress because I was interested in that moment, and then literally saw it happen live and followed with my jaw dropping to the floor while that whole thing unfolded. And it was violent. You cannot pretend that it was not a violent insurrection. And so to try and spin some kind of narrative like that is, it's not unusual, of course, for Tucker Carlson. He does it all the time. But it's extremely wicked. It's downplaying the sheer violence of that mob. And it literally interrupted the constitutionally prescribed process that was going on in the Congress at that time to confirm the Electoral College results. And, you know, I never thought I'd ever say anything in praise of Mike Pence, but good on him for sticking to that constitutionally prescribed process and seeing it through, even though there were death threats against him at that time. So, you know, that's a really extreme example. But I think part of the problem that we have is that, and if I can get back to New Zealand, it was a process that, in my recollection, you know, really started with people like Paul Holmes back in the 1980s, where the interviewer became the focus of attention, not the interviewee or the thing that they're talking about. You know, the era of the celebrity interviewer, and Paul Holmes was one of the early examples of it. But, you know, if you go back, you know, people in the UK like David Frost and Michael Parkinson were early examples of that whole trend, where the journalist or the broadcaster, you know, the Mike Hosking, for instance, is the attraction, not actually what's really going on. And so these people are given free rein to espouse theories and make up narratives and pass judgment on things on behalf of people. And they're often very, very persuasive. They're not always wrong. But I think one of the worst examples in New Zealand recently, of course, was the downplaying of Cyclone Gabrielle as it was approaching New Zealand. And that sort of thing is not just, you know, it doesn't rate as journalism. It's just speculation. It's not just that it's sort of people creating a narrative out of nothing. It's actually dangerous. People can lose their lives by being misled